everyone. In today's video, I'm going to explain We Are the Music Makers written by Arthur O. Shaughnessy. Turn to page 31 of Reverie and let us read. By far the most noted of any of his works is the Ode. From his book Music and Moonlight, 1874, also known as We Are the Music Makers, from its opening line. It is a poem dedicated to artists, poets, writers and musicians, people who live in a world of fantasy and build utopias of their own. This is the theme of the poem. They are world losers and world forsakers, people who have opted out of the rat race to pursue their dreams and perhaps through their dreams bring about changes in the world. This is the crux of the poem, the revolutionary power of art and the revolutionary power of the artists. Let us read the poem and analyze it in detail. This poem is an ode to the ones who dream and create. It is a celebration. It is a tribute to artists, poets, writers and musicians who shape the world through their art. The first stanza. We are the music makers. Who are the music makers? Musicians, singers, artists. And we are the dreamers of dreams. Creative artists like poets, they live in a world of fantasy, imagination, dreams. Music makers, dreamers of dreams, alliteration. Wandering by lone sea breakers. Lone, solitary, isolated. And what are sea breakers? Sea breakers are large waves with a white crest on the open sea or one that breaks into foam on the shore. And sitting by desolate. Desolate also means lonely or solitary. And sitting by desolate streams. Streams, small, narrow water bodies. World losers. World losers are the only ones in the world who are deemed unsuccessful. World forsakers, those who rebel against the world and its happenings, upon whom the pale moon gleams. It's a pale moon. The white light of the moon appears suddenly and clearly like a flash of light. This is the meaning of the word gleams. Appears suddenly and clearly like a flash of light. Yet, we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. Who are the movers and shakers? People who direct and influence thought by shaking the foundation of conventional thought. They are the movers and shakers, and here in this poem, movers and shakers refer to poets and musicians, artists, creative artists. Now the analysis of the stanza. The poet, using the first person plural, we, speaks in the collective voice of all musicians, poets and other artists. He says that these artists create music and are the dreamers of man's desires. They are visionaries. Keep this in mind. They are visionaries. They are often seen wandering by deserted, abandoned, uninhabited, solitary seashores or sitting by isolated streams as they find in the beauty and truth of nature matter for their creative, artistic creation. They need solitude. They enjoy the blissful solitude in order to utilize, in order to give shape to their creative bent of mind, creative faculties. World losers and world forsakers. Such artists are often condemned or marginalized as world losers and world forsakers. What is the meaning of this? The traditional artist is thought of lonely and lost in the world of nature. They are alienated from the hustle and bustle of life, and they are far removed from the mainstream society, from the materialistic pleasures of life, and hence they are also looked upon as unsuccessful in the world and society. So they are world losers. And why are they called world forsakers? Because they don't abide by the conventional norms of the society. They are non-conformists. Therefore, they seem rebellious and oppose the world and its happenings. They never enter the mainstream of life and remain largely in the obscurity with the moonlight gleaming on them. So it's a pale moon, not a bright and dazzling moon. They sacrifice a lot in order to finish, in order to give shape to their artistic creations. They need recognition, but they do not receive recognition all the time. It is not always that their works are recognized, yet they are the movers and shakers. Who are movers and shakers? It appears that they are the only ones who shake the very foundation of people's thinking and create a movement of change. Of the world forever, it seems. As I told you a little while ago, the poem highlights the revolutionary power of artists and the timelessness of art. Two themes: revolutionary power of artists and timelessness of art. Far from being just a celebratory ode to the music makers, the poem also explores the agency of art and how art affects the various aspects of society, ranging from politics to religion. Sparkling with exuberant optimism, this poem celebrates art and lauds the creative spirit and asserts that the dreamers of dreams have an active role to shape the age they live in. This poem does not limit itself to a particular form of art. It can be a musician, the artist can be a poet, he can be a writer. Stanza 2 emphasizes the timelessness of the art these music makers create and which lives beyond the age they are created in. With wonderful deathless deities, alliteration, we build up the world's great cities. Deathless means eternal, immortal, everlasting, and deities are short, simple songs here, poems, or other artistic creations. We build up the world's great cities. Here, creating fresh thought and new ideas that build society and move it forward. And out of a fabulous story, what is fabulous? Fabulous refers to magnificent, remarkable stories. We fashion, we create, we design an empire's glory, the splendor and fame of a kingdom. So stanza 2 exalts the power of the artist, which can be positive, with astonishing verse and songs that are everlasting, eternal, timeless. Singers and poets can inspire people and become instrumental in building up the stories of great cities of renown. Again, with their skill in weaving remarkable stories, they can also create the glory of an empire. So this is the positive power of the artists. Again, an artist, through the skill of his imagination, can at will conquer a kingdom through his creative work. So this is the destructive side. A few others, using a new beat and rhythm, can bring an empire completely to ruin. This is the power of a poet. One man with a dream, one artist at pleasure shall go forth and conquer a crown alliteration. Triumph over a kingdom. The expression conquer a crown means triumph over a kingdom. And 3, with a new song's measure. What is the meaning of song's measure? In musical notation, a bar or measure is a segment of time corresponding to a specific number of beats. Trample means to tread on, and the expression trample an empire down refers to vanquish or conquer a kingdom. O Shaughnessy is thus celebrating the impact that artists command over man and society through the might of their pen or through the power of their art. They have been instrumental in society moving forward through radical, far-reaching thoughts and ideas. It becomes possible for a single person to conquer a crown, and again, the influence of poets, authors, singers is thus far-reaching and transformational. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth, the ages, past, the past, and the buried past, this expression means the ancient ruins. We in the ages lying in the buried past of the earth built Nineveh with our sign and Babel itself with our mirth, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth. Brilliant. What is the meaning of the allusion Nineveh? Nineveh is an ancient Assyrian city of Upper Mesopotamia, modern-day Mosul in northern Iraq. It was the capital of Neo-Assyrian Empire. Sign means lamenting, and Babel is Nimrod city in Babylon, famous for the Tower of Babel, which was attempted to be built so high that God confounded its makers by causing them to speak in different tongues. Let's analyze it in detail so that you can have a better understanding. In stanza 3, the poet talks about the artists in the past ages who wove stories and songs of people and places. Here are two allusions, biblical allusions, built Nineveh and Babel. These are two biblical allusions, and through these two biblical allusions, O Shaughnessy conveys the power that artists yielded through their writing. With their skills of lamenting, they wove the tragedy that was the end of Nineveh, and in merriment and delight was written the account of Tower of Babel. Their writing was forceful enough to put an end to the earlier ages by prophesying and warning them of the value and significance of the new world. It is interesting to note that the real Nineveh and Babel are in ruins, but the Nineveh and Babel of words still remain and have easily outlived their historical counterparts. This definitely speaks volumes of the timelessness of art. It is through the texts that we come to know about their history. The poets and artists may be said to have built the cities of the past. And again, they are also attributed as having destroyed them by foretelling the old of the new world's worth. Arthur here seems to suggest the role of poets in creating myths and religion, and blurs the line between poets and prophets by claiming poets to be the prophets of an age, and overthrew them with prophesying to the old of the new world's worth, for each age is a dream that is dying. The poet speaks of the power and might of the artist community from time immemorial. They were able to use their power in constructive and destructive accounts of legend and lore. He uses two biblical allusions to reinforce this point. He also describes how in earlier ages civilizations were overthrown to make place for a newer and better order. The myths woven and the dreams spun are eternal, dying to be reborn again. Art, therefore, is timeless and eternal. Here, the poem ends by significantly enlarging the scope of music makers by highlighting their influence in shaping the present. And present is a juncture between the past and future. The poem assigns to the music makers and dreamers of dreams a significant role in shaping the past, the present, and the future of the world. Let us quickly find out the figures of speech used in the poem. Metaphor. Metaphors for creative artists, music makers, dreamers of dreams. In the dreamers of dreams, the poet uses a metaphor for creative imagination. Visual imagery now. Lone sea breakers, desolate streams, the pale moon gleams. Examples of visual imagery, and I have already discussed alliteration. Let me revise once again. Music makers, dreamers of dreams, and then with wonderful deathless deities. Deathless deities, example of alliteration. Conquer a crown, another example of alliteration. And world's worth, example of alliteration. A dream that is dying, alliterative expression.